Good morning. Welcome to the show, everybody. Enter the stars. This is Casey. And the thumbnail that you saw on this live show is, in fact, a real billboard. It was from 4 years ago. It was almost like they knew exactly what they were going to plan. A virus outbreak which would ignite into a riot apocalypse on Memorial Day 2020. I just want to start out the show by reminding you about a very bizarre experiment that NASA did during the August eclipse of 2017. We covered it at length here on this channel for those of you that were part of this channel in 2017. And they launched what we found out was a highly resistant bacteria. It was called the Bacillus xerothermidurans. I know that's a word sandwich, but follow me on this. They launched them on all of these hot air balloons into the stratosphere all along the eclipse path. Now, the date of that eclipse was the 233rd day of the year. And it was the only eclipse in 99 years that would cross the United States. Now follow me on these numbers, because you're going to hear the number 33 about 7 more times before the end of this show. You're going to hear the number 99, which flipped around as 66. And by the end of it, you'll understand that it is no accident that all of these number 33s are showing up surrounding these eclipse events. So again, this particular eclipse was on the 233rd day of the year. It was the only eclipse in 99 years across the U.S. And that eclipse entered through the 33rd state of Oregon. Show it to you here. And it left at the 33rd parallel. Entered the 33rd state of Oregon in the Union, and it exited in South Carolina at the 33rd parallel. Now, another eclipse is going to come through. It'll be the next eclipse. Remember, the first one hadn't happened across the United States in 99 years. And then all of a sudden, we get this pair of eclipses that will form a cross across the United States. Now again, we covered this at length because at the center of this cross is Little Egypt in the Midwest. And we did an overlay showing you that the Mississippi River Valley is a mirror of the Nile River Valley. It's opposites. That video went viral. It's on this channel, I believe. So, here it is. This eclipse. This one enters there, comes out there. There's another one that will also cross the U.S. in 2024. Guess what day of the year that eclipse is going to happen? The 99th day of the year. And it will enter down here in Texas through the 33rd Congressional District of Texas, Dallas. And it will exit Maine through a particular town called Perham, Maine. And that was named after Maine's 33rd governor. Now, if you think this is all coincidence, you might want to unsubscribe for this channel, because nothing is coincidence. I just showed you the numbers 33 and 99 and two seemingly unrelated eclipses that both passed through the United States within a 99-year span. Very, very rare. And for this reason, in 2017, we called this out as the 99 red balloons eclipses. And we explained to you the danger of the mutation of these Bacillus spores, and that it could cause a spamdemic. This is what we were talking about in 2017. Now, I don't know if what we're going through now has anything to do with this. What I know for sure is that these people worship the sun. And they love nothing better than to launch their little games during and around these eclipses. Now, There were something like 50 balloons, not 99. But they were floated all along the eclipse path, as you can see here. This is real. This really happened. This is NASA's website. And they state in their own article that they wanted to see how these spores reacted to the UV environment of space. Now, here's what these cards look like that were attached to the balloons. This is the device, the mechanism. Looks like an octagon to me. And all these colors, rainbow colors. Here's the little cards. This actually has the Paenobacillus xerothermoduran bacillus on the card there. There's 4 and 4. That's 44, half of 88. They launched them on these balloons. Some of you saw this actually happen. And with no idea how these things might react to ultraviolet radiation, they launched these into the stratosphere during the eclipse. Now, what do we have here? This is one of the videos we did right around 2017. We were looking at the series The Strain, it was called. And they drop a nuclear device on the master, he was called. He was the top evil guy that had this sickness. Many of you will remember that series. And here we have the Paenobacillus xerothermodurans, as you can see right here. This is it. This is what was on the cards. They called them highly resistant but harmless. How can something be highly resistant but harmless? Now, this looks, here's another image of the xerothermodurans. And someone noted, it looks a heck of a lot like a buckyball. Now, here's where the plot thickens. Because nearly every single element of what I just told you appears in the film, The Andromeda Strain. Now, there were 2 films. The more recent one, which we're going to look at today in a montage, they talk at length about buckyballs, nanotechnology, as they're talking about the V word Rus, we're going to call it, in that film. The Strain, the Andromeda Strain, the Strain, the film series, mini-series. See how all this fits together? It all fits together perfectly, because it is actually partially true. Everything that we just talked about, we're going to cover right now. The buckyballs, the eclipses, NASA's satellites causing this spamdemic. Let's go ahead and take a look. First, we're going to check and make sure we're connected. Now, I squeezed together 2 separate decodes that I did over the last couple of days. One of those was from the 2008 Andromeda miniseries, and the other one was from the 1971 film. Okay, so now I squeeze those together into this final montage. Let's take a look at this. This is nuts. I found more stuff, so if you saw both of those decodes already, understand that you're going to see new things today. Now, this is a real billboard from 2008, and it premiered on Memorial Day. It wasn't on the 25th, which is where all this happened this year, but it was on Memorial Day. We know that Memorial Day floats, right? And look at this. It's a bad day to be human. How crazy is this? It's almost like they were foreshadowing. You also notice this buckyball-like lattice work behind here. These those are hexagons back here. So it's like a buckyball in the backdrop of this image. World population, obviously. And I want you to also notice that the O in the word Andromeda looks like an eclipse. Wow. Let's keep going.
most of them died.
Now, many of you will notice the word Andromeda has the word Rome in it. It also has the word demon in it. Andromeda is a very loaded word when you scramble it around a little bit. Now, what happens is these people go crazy, basically. This is from the 1971 film. This satellite drops from outer space, and it's from NASA, but nobody tells anybody that's from NASA. Everyone assumes it's some extraterrestrial device, or that some extraterrestrial entity attached itself to the satellite and brought it down to Earth. This is what they're telling everyone. That's a cover story. But in actuality, by the end of the 2008 film, they tell you that it's actually NASA who was up there screwing around with the Andromeda strain, and it accidentally fell to Earth. And that's exactly what they're doing up there. They're doing experiments, as we just talked about when we opened the show. They're doing all these experiments up there with strange bioorganisms to see what effect ultraviolet radiation has on them, which, just by the way, is intensified and isolated during an eclipse. Are you starting to see what's going on here? Now, in this scenario, in the 1971 scenario, first people get this, they say that the blood turns into powder, but really people suffocate, which is exactly what happens when you get the CV, right? And then the strain mutates. We're going to call it the strain because that's what they call it, okay? We don't need to call it the V word, because if we do, YouTube comes in and attacks us. The strain then mutates, and it causes people to get really angry. Now, I put the word riot in here, but really they don't. Most of them just off themselves, okay? But some go to attack other people, okay, and break things. So that's kind of weird, right? Because that's kind of what's going on right now. And I thought a lot about this, and I'm like, what if these people that are in the streets are acting the way they're acting, which is much different than people have acted in the past? We can all agree that. What if this is, or they want us to believe that it's a mutation? I don't know if I would believe that, because they could just be saying that. But what if all this is a mental strain? What if this is a mental thing that they've done to us through programming that is causing people to behave this way, or have symptoms thinking they have the CV because of, what do they call that? That effect, placebo effect, because they're being told all these things, and all of a sudden, oh, I can't breathe, right? You see how this works? The two events are definitely related. The GF event, Memorial Day event, and the CV events are definitely related. The two are tied in together perfectly, because the CV event almost set us everybody up to get normalized to lockdowns and all these things, right? Stay in your home. Don't come out. We got the National Guard going through the streets saying, get back in your home. Well, now that's not such a big deal because people are already used to it. Through gradualism, they already prepped us for this. Now, we'll be doing a show on Monday about how I believe that they were losing control with the CV, right? People were starting to come out of their houses. Nobody was wearing masks. And then so when that happens, obviously the weather's warmed up, right? So they're not going to get the numbers that they wanted, because obviously this was basically a flu. And they can't get the numbers in the hot season, even though everyone's come out of their houses and they're protesting. And so where are we going to get these deaths? Where are we going to get them? They can't. They won't. So they had to come up with plan B. Flip the script. Change up the program. And I believe that this is what they've done with the whole Memorial Day event. And here we are now. And now nobody's talking about masks. Nobody's talking about social distancing. And at the end of the day, when we don't get another spike, or at least the people that are in the streets, what they'll say is, oh, the people in the streets, oh, they brought it home to other people that were susceptible, and then they'll try to co-opt their death count that way. They'll just go to the contact traced families of the people that they return home to after being in the streets rioting, and they'll say, oh, grandma got it and she's gone. And they'll blame it on that. Even though they're saying GF had it, he had the CV, but in that one instance, they're not going to count that as a CV death. You see how this works? See how everything's backwards and spun around? We're in a hall of mirrors. Let's keep going with this. It's Friday.
Instantly, but if you had time to go quietly nuts.
Let's find the damn satellite.
Most of them died instantly, but if you had time to go quietly nuts. Let's find the damn satellite.
I'm declaring a state of emergency. Oh, we need a flyby over Piedmont, New Mexico. Infrared, a FLIR scan, all sectors, film to come direct to scoop. Piedmont, New Mexico.
Now, lo and behold, Piedmont. Now, this is where the satellite went down, and Piedmont just so happens to be just miles away from Gallup, which everybody knows just had a lockdown, probably the most intense lockdown of any other U.S. city. And this crash right here this is actually from the airplane that went down, but the actual satellite crash here in Piedmont, right? Let's keep going.
While most of the state is starting to slowly reopen, the city of Gallup is now officially on lockdown as their number of confirmed coronavirus cases grows.
As long as you are a resident of Gallup and you can provide proof that you are a resident and you live within the city limits.
11 checkpoints and roadblocks have been set up by the Department.
Gallup backwards almost spells gulag, does it not?
Department of Transportation at all points of entry into the city. New Mexico State Police and the Army National Guard will be at each checkpoint.
Now, Piedmont, where the satellite went down in the 1971 film, is actually a fictitious town. It's actually, they used the town of Shafter, Texas. Okay? Shafter, Texas, which is right on the border, which I believe this eclipse that's going to happen in 2024 might go right over Shafter. I have to check that out. I don't know that for a fact. But Shafter is right near the border. It's a border town. It's an old silver mine and a ghost town now. So this is where they filmed it. So I looked into Shafter, Texas, just to see if there were any more connections. And look what I found.
Piedmont, New Mexico.
Remember Court Justice Antonin Scalia, who died on Lupercalia the first day, February 13th, 2016? Remember all the videos we did on that at the Cibolo Creek Ranch? And that was like a big cover-up because there was something way bigger going on. I wouldn't be shocked if Scalia knew egg stain. I don't know. But this is just weird. There's more to this. Now, the Andromeda strain is named after Andromeda, the Andromeda constellation, as well as the Andromeda of Greek mythology. And she just so happens to be the daughter of the king of the kingdom of Kush. Like Kushner, you know? 666 Fifth Avenue. Now, they named this project to basically control biological entities, a secret project through PARPA, which is definitely a code name for DARPA, right? They call it the Scoop Project. And it's basically about ice cream, all right? This is the joke. It's about ice cream. So I looked into the Scoop and the whole concept of ice cream. And you're going to hear some clips from the 1971 film. You're going to hear some modern clips of a fascination with President Trump and ice cream, about how he gets 2 scoops of ice cream instead of 1. And we also heard Nancy Pelosi talking about ice cream. What is it about this ice cream? Watch.
Let's go directly to the inside. We can assume they put the scoop on the thing to scoop something into it. What?
Let's go directly to the inside. Scoop. Huh, what could that mean? Well,
let's go directly to the inside. We can assume they put the scoop on the thing to scoop something into it. What about the bits of green?
Paint.
For God's sake.
Pistachio ice cream. There's no basis to assume it's anything yet.
now it's interesting because who likes pistachio ice cream? Trump does not. He's more of a vanilla guy. But guess who likes pistachio ice cream? You can look it up right now. Just favorite ice cream. It would be Bibi Netanyahu and the Russian President Putin. I'll let you make the connections about what that might mean. Now, here's another scene from the 1971 film. They zoom into the time, the clock at San Francisco International Airport. And look at the time. Now, typically, the time doesn't mean a whole lot in these films unless you have confirmation. And in both the 1971 film and the 2008 miniseries, there was a time travel component. So then, that rung a bell because 10:04 means something far more than you could ever imagine. Let's watch. It appeared in the film Back to the Future. That was the time at which the clock stopped and Doc Brown could time travel. It had to be 10:04. What is the significance of 10:04, Casey? I'm about to show you. For the first time since the history of this film, we will find out what 10:04 really means. Now, we had discovered this before. Didn't gain a lot of traction. This channel just really never does. I'm not sure why. But we're just going to keep on going along because there's enough people here that want to know the truth. The deeper meanings of these things. Hill Valley. There's the clock tower in Back to the Future. 10:04. And it just so happens that October 4th, which is 10/4, has 88 days until the end of the year. And I believe this is why they picked this date for Back to the Future and the time equivalent. October 4th, 10:04 on the clock. Because the DeLorean had to reach 88 miles an hour in order to jump through time. 88 is time and space, you guys. Always has been, always will be. Why? Because the sun and the moon follow the same figure 8 path in the sky. 8 and 8. That's what this is really all about. Now let's keep watching. Now we're going to jump into the mini-series, and there'll also be 1971 clips interspersed between these clips. But the mini-series came out 6 years ago, and this number 66 keeps coming up. It's a reverse of the number 99, which we talked about at the beginning of the show. Trump is on the 66th floor penthouse, and there's so many more 66s surrounding Trump. Let's watch.
Had a big dust-up at Stone last year over who first isolated the CD1 virus. The CD1 virus.
Now, there's this mention of a CD1 strain, and to me, that is code for a shortened version of the CV.
10 years ago, Dr. Chu was one of the premier designers of biological weapons for the Chinese government.
But then I saw the light of Jesus, and now I serve as a consultant on bioterrorism for a wide range of U.S. corporate...
Which Jesus are they talking about? Well, there's 2 Lucifers in the Bible, and that's a whole nother discussion. One of them there were two because they all used to sing together in heaven when there was unity. It's in the book of Job. You can look it up. Two Lucifers. One is Jesus is called the light bearer. The other is, of course, the devil. But don't get confused. Don't try to interchange the two because they're completely different.
Operations.
Out of the ashes into the fire.
Units of the Salt Lake City National Guard are suddenly being deployed for a, quote, training exercise related to immigration and border security.
Now, what you just heard him say, training exercise, immigration and border security. Well, that's the cover. That's the cover. And in this 2008 miniseries, that is the cover story. And that guy you just saw is actually a reporter trying to get the inside scoop, right? And he doesn't buy the cover story, which is why we shouldn't buy the cover story. This whole thing on border security. But yet everyone's been deceived because we've been tricked into believing the right left paradigm that we got to protect our borders and we got to stop these people from coming over the border, right? Where's all the news headlines in Mexico, in the CV? Why aren't we getting any other news headlines from any other countries about the CV at all? Like zero? Pause for a second and ask yourself why. What about Central America? What about South America? What about all the other places on the planet that we've been put into fear here to believe that we need to social distance and wear masks? It's non-existent. There is no news.
Ultraviolet light stimulates, so does carbon dioxide.
So Andromeda thrives best in an atmosphere of 100% carbon dioxide lit by ultraviolet light.
So, there you heard it. It thrives on UV. This is the path of the eclipse. This is where they launch all the balloons to see how UV would affect the balloon, or affect the Paenobacillus xerothermodurans bacteria that was launched on the balloons. They had no idea if this thing could mutate. They said it was harmless, but how do they know? Because they've never done it before. That's the freaking definition of an experiment. You don't know what's going to happen, right? And yet this was launched over everyone's heads.
Ultraviolet light stimulates, so does carbon dioxide.
Now, of course, we've done all the comparisons between Trump and Apollo. Okay. He's got the Apollo painting in the 66th floor penthouse. And if you are related to a sun god, you would not need to wear eye protection looking at an eclipse. This is Trump looking at the eclipse. I believe this was the 2017 eclipse, just after they got into the White House.
Do you believe in time travel?
Sure, as much as I believe in Santa Claus and the Easter Bunny.
According to Chu, a Lorentzian wormhole is theoretically traversable not only in terms of distance, but in time.
Andromeda comes from the past, the future.
Why send something back that could destroy your own past?
Now, of course, here's the time travel component. It doesn't end up being the case, but the scientists are brainstorming, trying to figure out how they're going to whip this strain, right? And they come up with this theory that this thing could have passed through a wormhole. And, of course, Biff is Trump. Everybody knows that. So we've got another link. Let's keep going.
What if Andromeda was sent to us by our future? Well, the sophistication of the technology involved in the black material would argue for the future.
Why would you threaten your own past like that?
It was the source of Andromeda. Wormholes, as we understand, are theoretical connections between distance and time, right?
It would be a move of absolute desperation.
A wake-up call, a cry for help. They couldn't beat Andromeda.
And we can?
I don't know. It would be nice, though, wouldn't it? Be able to go back, change things.
If our
Really important choices could be sampled like a box of chocolates.
Now, here's where the plot thickens again, because Tom Hanks was the guy who came out and said that he and his wife Rita had the CV. Remember, they were in Australia. And it doesn't stop there, because in the film Forrest Gump, he said life is like a box of chocolates. This is a clear reference to Tom Hanks and what the future would hold. And remember in the film where Tom Hanks grabs a t-shirt from a guy and he invents the smiley face. Well, we've already identified that the smiley face is the path of the eclipse. It forms a smile across the world. And that was the eclipse that kicked off the CV on December 26th, Apollo's birthday, 2019. The smiley face eclipse went through Malaysia, right underneath China. That was the very day that they actually named it in a lab. You can go back and look all this up for yourself. Look at the timeline for the CV, and you'll see that it was named in a lab on that date as the eclipse was going underneath China. Then, of course, it ended up here in the beginning of 2020.
Could be sampled like a box of chocolates.
Doesn't stop there with the connection with Tom Hanks. He played in a film called Larry Crown. And in the film, they give him a nickname, Lance Corona. There is his Corona cup. Look at the crown.
And our decisions would lose their meaning. I think a linear time frame is a key part of what it means to be human.
Andromeda's chemical composition. It's weird. It's not carbon-based. It's sulfur-based. Sulfur?
Now, for those of you that have been on the channel, you know we've talked at length about sulfur, because the sulfur molecule looks like and is called and identified as an anti-prism. And I told you that the One Freedom building in New York, the one that replaced the other buildings, I told you that they called that themselves an anti-prism. It's a giant sulfur molecule with a big middle finger up to heaven. And I told you that sulfur was what was rained down on a particular place in the Bible. The sulfur molecule is a crown. What we're dealing with here is the crowning of Lucifer himself, the crowned serpent. Watch. There is the S8 sulfur molecule, and it looks like a crown. It also doubles as Wonder Woman's logo. Now you understand what's going on with her. There is the square antiprism, which is the same shape as the sulfur molecule and the same shape of the renowned building in New York.
Is that sterno?
The little hair of the dog.
It's poisonous.
And illegal.
So is homicide.
Now here's the sterno angle, because in both the 1971 film and the 2008 miniseries of the Andromeda strain, the only people that survive are people outside of a certain pH level, outside of the typical narrow pH range necessary for life, and that would be either a baby with really good pH. Well, the baby has colic, or a drunk who drinks sterno, which is poison, which actually, believe it or not, causes blindness because it kills the optic nerve. Now, the history behind this sterno is that during Prohibition, what these really are used for is cooking fuel. They're those little things that go underneath food trays to keep them hot. And during Prohibition, they started drinking sterno because it has alcohol in it. Well, the problem is that the sterno is denatured, which means they add stuff to it so that you can't drink it. But people drink it anyway, even though they're getting poisoned. Sterno headquarters is based in Corona, California. Wrap your brain around that for a second.
Drinking Sterno will kill you.
If you're so smart, how come I'm still alive and everyone else is dead?
Naturally, as acidosis, his blood pH is 9 points off normal. But why? Stupid machine, what makes his blood too acid? You're a Sterno drinker, huh?
Looks good.
Drinking Sterno will kill you.
An acidosis from all the aspirin he was taking.
Mm-hmm. But it's not like the baby was knocking back handfuls of acetylsalicylic acid.
Now, this nurse is a hero. Why? Because she had the guts to tell the truth about what happens when you wear a mask all day. Her video, I believe, has gone viral. I hope it has, because people need to see this. Because she talks about exactly what they were talking about in the film, The Andromeda Strain, the miniseries, from 2008. Listen to what she has to say, and listen to what they say in the film.
No, but Tobler said she was always crying. She was colicky. If Sylvie breathed rapidly long enough, carbon dioxide would build up in her system and she would become acidotic.
When you go out in public and you wear this at all hours of day, you are creating an acidotic state of your blood.
She would become acidotic.
You are doing your body a disservice. It is crucial to health to have a balance of pH in your bloodstream at all times. You are creating a pH imbalance.
She would become acidotic.
We've got a vulnerability. Andromeda can only exist within a very narrow range of acidity and alkalinity.
You are creating a pH imbalance.
It pretty much falls within the parameters of human tolerance, 7.5 to 7.0.
So you are creating a pH imbalance.
No, we want him to breathe fast. In Piedmont, Jackson was cracked on Sterno. Sterno acidosis. Acidosis, rapid breathing. Rapid breathing helps. Don't let the bug in your lungs long enough to penetrate blood vessels. I want to turn off the pure oxygen. Then it has something to do with blood chemistry and breathing. With all the yelling, blowing off carbon dioxide, the kid should have too little acid. Alkali. A blood condition just the opposite from the old man. Too much alkali.
So anything we hit Andromeda with, which is acidic or basic enough to kill it, might also be lethal to humans.
They both stayed alive at Piedmont, breathing the same air. One's blood too alkaline, the other too acid. Dutton, I'm turning off the oxygen. Breathe fast and hard.
No, Jeremy, don't let him cut off my oxygen.
No. It grows within a narrow range of pH.
A very narrow range.
If your blood's abnormal, if it's too acid or alkaline, Andromeda can't survive in the body.
Now, if you still believe there is absolutely no connection between what they're talking about in these films and what we're going through right now with these mandatory masks, again, you might want to unsubscribe from this channel because you're living in a very, very deep sleep. Let's keep going because there's another component to this. We're now going to look at the 19s. Now, the 19s are important because it has been 19 years since the buildings came down. There were 19 tridents on the facade of the buildings. And now they've named the new enemy, the new threat, with a 19. And these 19s follow what are called metonic cycles, which coincides to a particular calendar by a particular group of people that we can't talk about on this channel anymore. And this metonic cycle, this 19-year cycle, is very peculiar because what it does is every 19 years, almost exactly, the moon repeats its phase and position in the sky to the T exactly every 19 years, and the sun has an eclipse every 19 years. They have metonic cycles. How can this be? We're told the sun and the moon are tens of hundreds of millions of miles apart, but yet They follow the same cycle. Metonic cycle. So let's look at the 19s in this film.
Molecule of the black material cemented by one of two bonding agents, potassium or rubidium.
So potassium and rubidium are bonded to the strain, and of course potassium has the atomic number 19. That was not an accident, they picked that.
What the devil? 601? The computer's overloaded.
So they get this code 601, and it represents the computer being overloaded. When you flip that around, it turns into a 19.
CD1 virus. CD1 virus.
They serve no structural purpose and alternate in a seemingly random manner.
See that license plate? And here, times like this is where I believe there is some kind of time travel component to these dark, evil ones. Donald Trump still collecting cash from his Hollywood days from SAG. And look at the number. 709 in reverse. That's how much money he's getting from SAG. And look at the license plate. From 6 years ago, 12 years ago, this miniseries came out. He's on the 66th floor penthouse. Can't make it up. Is this the Matrix? Is this how the Matrix works? Is this how our reality is framed? In numbers? I don't know. All I know is what I'm seeing on the screen. There's more. POT stands for President of the SAG. This is the Actors Guild, Screen Actors Guild. He's an actor. President of the SAG. Utah could represent the NSA, which is what Trump lobbied to reinstitute domestic spying on your cell phones and your text messages. Look it up if you want to know the truth. This happened last year. He said, hey, we need to reinstitute this. Why? Why would you want to do that? Well, it was in preparation for contact tracing. You get it now? And look, there's the smiley face again. We saw this many, many times. The smiley face is the path of the eclipse. It's also synonymous with spamdemics. Now, remember, all of this is linked in to the event that happened 19 years ago that we're not even allowed to really talk about anymore on any platform. And so it makes sense that in the Andromeda Strain miniseries, the actual code that they had to type in to basically open up the Andromeda Strain, it lives in this box here on the satellite space station, right? This is where it is, and this is where at the end they reveal that this was actually the cause, but nobody wanted to admit it. Well, look at the numbers encoded. You got a 73. That's the year that the WTC opened. You've got the halfway point, which is 14. 9 and 5 is 14. That was 1987. The year 1987 was the halfway point. It was the 14th year. That's when Building 7 opened. It was 47 stories tall, and it opened in the Hebrew year 47. Go figure. And then it fell after 28 total years from 1973 is when it fell, and it's got the 28. It's all encoded in this code here. Let's keep watching. Now, this is the actual Andromeda strain. I couldn't decode this. I didn't really know what it was. Maybe I just didn't take the time to do it. But for any of you that know what that is, it looks like a Triskelon to me. But it's basically two pyramids. I guess it's 3 and 3. You could look at it as 3 and 3, right? 33, because it's two three-sided triangles mixed in with one another. Okay, so that's weird.
The raindrops will carry the organism into the ocean, and the alkaline reaction from seawater should kill it.
Just as acids are alkaline, the blood stopped it.
We're applying an adaptation of your antidote to it, Mark. Cloud seeding. We're seeding the cloud.
So they seed the cloud, they click chemtrail. This is all relates exactly to what's going on right now. Everyone's saying, "Oh, Trump fixed the chemtrails. They're going to go away now." Okay, this is how lost people are. Nothing's changed. We've just all been tricked. So they cloud seed, and they basically they drive the Andromeda strain into the ocean, which the pH kills it.
We're seeding We're applying an adaptation of your antidote to it, Mark. Cloud seeding. We're seeding the clouds above Andromeda with silver iodide.
And then I flipped this upside down. This is actually the very last part of the film, the 1971 film. And I flipped the whole thing upside down so you could see the 19. And then the very last thing you see before the credits is end. End program. Disengage. And that's it. That is the montage I put together for you guys. Hopefully I explain everything well enough. And let's go into the chat for a little bit. Pretty big group today, this morning. Thanks everybody for joining. Everybody share this video. I mean, to me, this is just all a slam dunk. If you take the time to actually look at what you're watching, you can find a lot of what these people are up to. That's what we do on this channel. Most people just watch for entertainment, but there's actually a bunch of truth to all this stuff. They're basically trying to prepare us for what they're going to do, and this is a form of brainwashing. That's exactly what it is. It's to basically control behaviors and to anticipate how people are going to behave. And what they do is they flood the entertainment industry with programming. And it gets you to act and behave a certain way so that when things do go down, that's exactly how you'll react. That's what all these strain films were about. They were all about that, to try to get you prepared so that you'll fall in line through fear and also through the subliminal imagery and programming that you've been programmed with. But the spell doesn't work if you watch channels like this, because then you see the spell. The spell is neutralized. Okay? Make no mistake, this stuff is very, very powerful because you're living it, you're watching it, you're breathing it. And this, if you don't know what you're looking at, this can attack your faith. So it's best just to know what you're dealing with It's not like everybody's going to turn off their TVs and disconnect from the world. It's very difficult to do. So if you're going to be connected to the world, at least know what you're looking at, so that you're not deceived. All right. All right, we're going to end the show there. I'll be back Monday. You guys have a great weekend. Share this video far and wide. Love each and every one of you. Take care and be safe.